All chicks. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Totally joking.
Too much penis in these live
It's
streams.
you. Yeah, these is we should just call Let's Chat Live Sausage Party. Let's chat sausage.
Do people still use Twitch?
I don't know. I think so.
I feel like Twitch is dying out.
I
I
saw
hope I
Benny
hope
and the
we're,
gang streaming earlier today.
I hope
So
we're live on Twitch while we're talking about how no one uses Twitch.
we are live on Twitch talking about how nobody uses Twitch. See, it's you can hear it
Oh,
actually in the
this
background.
broadcaster indicated that the channel is intended for mature audiences. Well, in that case, I'm going to do this.
Oh yeah, you see, we got the opening going there. Right on. See, oh shit! But now my stream it appears frozen.
Let it go, let it go. I'm one with the wind and snow. I didn't even know I knew that much of the song.
I didn't know
Have you
anything
seen
beyond
Frozen?
Let It Go. No, I haven't seen Frozen. And I
I
feel like
have.
I should because like I'm a pop culture guy and that's one of
I
those
saw it
like
in
pop
cinema.
culture things that you need to see. Yeah. You saw it in the cinema. Holy
Yeah.
shit, you paid a lot of money to go see that.
Not only did I see it in the
But it
cinema, I
seems like you
saw
enjoyed it.
no. I saw a sing-along version. So when the songs came on, there were lyrics on the screen.
That's amazing.
I
Oh,
think we were the only people in the cinema over the age of 10 that weren't with parents.
right, right. Okay, it's probably a good idea at this point to introduce the show. Hello, everybody. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys, girls, and sentient robots. My name is Nick, and this broadcast is brought to you in glorious Goldman Vision. We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Let's chat live. We are joined by Owen Farrington of Owen Likes Comics. Owen, how the hell are you, man?
Well, this definitely isn't the men's room, so I don't know where I've just peed.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Yes, I did defecate right behind that Batman bust over there. That's what that smell is. I apologize. No, don't lift it.
Oh.
We already got the mature rating on the channel. I think showing human feces would be bad. So anyway, if you guys are unfamiliar with Let's Chat Live, it is a show where we talk about all kinds of things, pop culture, mainly movies, mainly comic books, maybe some video games are tossed up in there, and maybe sometimes we just go off on tangents. But today we have a fully
Really?
packed show. Yeah, well, I think we tend to go off on
When
tangents.
have we ever gone on a tangent?
I do remember talking about filmmakers, and for some reason Steven Spielberg came up, and our
We don't
friend
talk
Baron
about that.
von Comics went off on a tangent about how Steven Spielberg is a hack. If you guys want to see that episode, go over to my channel, youtube.com/goldenvision. You can go and search for that episode. I will leave a link in the description. But anyway, Owen, there's a lot of shit coming out nowadays. This is a jam-packed spring/summer of movies coming out. We got
Well,
the DC universe kicking it off with Batman versus Superman next week. How do you feel about that, man? You excited?
well, you know what they say, the summer movie season is officially starting in March now.
Yeah.
But yeah, BVS is out this week. I'm going to be heading down on Friday to go check it out, and hopefully we'll have some sort of spoilers review out on my channel on Saturday, and hopefully next week on Let's Shot Live, me and Nick, we can have a bit of a spoiler discussion about the film,
Indeed,
which
indeed.
so make sure to check out that.
I'm seeing it on Monday. That's the earliest that I can see it. I already got my tickets. I got like the IMAX and the freaking Dolby sound and all the greatness
Oh yeah.
that's going on over there. I heard really good things about the Dolby Atmos sound system for the film. I'm really excited about that type of stuff because this is a type of movie that you really need to see in the cinema. Like, sure,
Oh
you
yeah.
can sit down in front of your giant 90-inch television with your great sound system and pause and freeze frame and watch everything, but this is meant to be heard in an auditorium. This is meant to be seen on a giant screen in the darkness of the matinee for those punches to rebound and resound off the walls. It's going to be so fantastic. The reviews are coming in now for Batman versus Superman, and they are generally good.
Yeah.
Some people are putting some reports out on websites, which I think is kind of a little bit clickbaity and kind of shameful, stating that there are some scathing reviews, that the two main reviews that have come out for the film have been scathing, and honestly, I think it's greatly outnumbered by the good reviews. I actually had a friend that went to go see it, I think it was Monday night, last night, and he said it was amazing. He and his girlfriend, longtime friends of mine whom I trust, they have a good sense of critiquing. What do you think about the initial reports of it being fucking fantastic?
Well, it's very reassuring that after those reports we got about a month or two back talking about how he's worried about the film. So to get really positive word of mouth coming so early is a really good thing. But I think hold your expectations a little bit because remember these are fan screenings, so the people that are going to go see these really early screenings are people that love Batman and Superman. These are people who are excited for the film. They're looking forward to the film. So all I'm going to say is I'm excited for the film. I can't wait for the film. I have been anticipating this film for years and years and years, but I am going into the film with an open mind. It could be the next Dark Knight, or it could be the next Superman 4 Quest for Peace. I'm hoping it's the former rather than the latter. I think it's going to be awesome, but as it says, I want to go into the film with a clear mind and see for myself.
Who's got your money right now? Who are you putting your money on? Is it Batman or Superman?
Batman.
Batman? There you go. Yeah,
Batman.
I have to say that I'm also on the Batman camp. I'm team Batman for this.
While we're on the subject of whose team we're on, I recently did a video on my channel, youtube.com/comics, where I posed the question to a series of awesome YouTubers, who's going to win and why. We had the likes of Benny from Comic Historian, Sal from Comic Pop, Scott from NerdSync, Oren from Oren's Comics, Sammy Reeds, El Cheapo Games and Comics. We had Nick from Imperious Arcs. We had Jacob from the Superhero Podcast. We had Joel from Cape Joel. Whole bunch of awesome people. Each one gave a very, very interesting, very unique perspective on who they think would win and why. Everyone really opened my eyes, and the majority of people said Superman, which I can understand. But Benny and Jake came up with some really compelling arguments for why you could argue Batman's going to win. And I haven't checked. I put up a poll at the end of the video. I wanted the viewers to vote who they think would win. I haven't actually checked that. Maybe we'll check it during the show.
Maybe. See, that's how good we are at this. You say I set you up with a plug, and bam, you knock it down right there. But yeah, definitely go check that out. YouTube.com/OwenLikesComics. After this broadcast, go and watch that.
Nick,
too. But yes,
who do you think could win?
Yes, I didn't get to contribute a little clip to that video. I was asked for months. I just could not make the time to do it. But while we're here,
breaking announcement: the polls are in.
What's the poll say?
Batman is currently at 25%. Superman is at 75%.
That's ridiculous. That's a huge spread. That's a huge spread right there.
The viewers of Owen Likes Comics have decided that Superman is going to defeat Batman.
Well, here's the thing: is that the only way for him to defeat Batman would be to kill Batman, because Batman ain't one of those motherfuckers that quits. Well,
what I thought was a really interesting point is Sal from Comic Pop pointed out a very interesting fact. He says that Superman has taken a vow of always doing the right thing, while Batman has taken a vow of not killing. And as Sal said, if it's a battle to the death, and if Superman believes that killing Batman is the right thing to do, he'd do it. Whereas Batman wouldn't even kill the Joker, like Sal said.
Right.
Like, he's not going to kill people. He's not going to kill someone that's murdered innocent people. Why would he kill Superman?
Right. Yeah, that's why I love Sal. Sal makes a great point there.
Whereas if Superman really believed that this was the right thing to do, that killing Batman would necessarily be the right thing, then Superman would do it.
Here's the thing, though. Batman's vow against killing, I think, is exclusively against humans. I don't think he has any problem killing, sentient AIs or aliens or monsters or creatures of that sort, of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't see it. Yeah. And, we'd have to kind of do a little bit of comic book sleuthing to make sure that that's the case, but we'll probably get back to you on that and find out. But I really think that his no-kill rule really pertains to humans. So therefore, any Kryptonians, they're fucked. He will kill Kryptonians. He will kill aliens. He will kill creatures that come up that are, under the control of some mass, some hive mind. You know what I mean?
But if that's the discussion we're getting at, Superman very much does see himself as a human.
But Batman doesn't. That's the whole point of this movie, is that he doesn't see him as human at all. Go away. I don't want that. Whatever you guys are selling.
Well, yeah, how excited are you for Batman Superman then, Nick?
I'm very excited. To get back to our question before of who I have my money on, it's definitely Batman. The thing is, though, it all depends on the writers. The writers will determine. I know that's such a stupid cop-out, but really the writers determine who will win that type of battle. And really, it's not so much of like, okay, well, Superman can fly and he can move really fast and he can, he's impenetrable and invulnerable and this and that and the other thing. And Batman's just a man, an extraordinary man, but just a man. It's about okay, well, the scene is set up with this, and Superman does this thing, and Batman does this thing, and then Batman sees an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
See, the thing about Batman is that he's situational. He can think on his feet. He can think very fast. He can also think 20 moves ahead. So even though he has planned something 20 moves ahead and something gets stopped 10 moves in, he can adapt that plan and make a new plan on the spot with all the pieces that he had set up. So really, because of that, I don't think there's any beating Batman. Unless you are just to cold-blooded smash through his ceiling and fucking kill him like that, which is not really what Superman would ever do. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening.
Well, that's a very interesting point. So getting back onto the subject of Batman v Superman, so as we were talking earlier, some of the fan screenings are in, and they're overly positive from what we've seen so far. The majority of people who've seen the movie that we see as reputable sources say, yeah, so far so good. We'll be seeing the movie later this week. But, let's just talk about, in an ideal world, a lot of the castings from Batman v Superman have been very controversial at the original point. So what I want to do, Nick, is, this is completely off the cuff, but if you were the head of DC, and you were tasked with, okay, we're making a Batman-Superman movie, and the characters in the film are Batman, Superman, Lois Lane, Wonder Woman, and Lex Luthor, who would you have cast?
Let's see. For Lex Luthor,
you don't have to keep Henry Cavill. This can be a completely singular, new continuity if you want it to be. It's entirely up to you.
Honestly, I would definitely cast. I would cast Bryan Cranston as Superman. No, as Lex Luthor. Let's start out with the baddies, because I think the baddies are
would you have
more difficult to cast than the good guys, because like bad guys, it's difficult to make a compelling villain that has to last throughout a franchise to really care about, really give a shit about. Like Voldemort in the Harry Potter franchise, I didn't really care about Voldemort. I cared more about all the other shit that happened. I cared more about Helena Bonham Carter, who played Beatrix. I forget her name, but like I cared about the other villains versus the big bad. Now, if Lex Luthor is going to be coming back in all these films, he's going to be a constant villain for all these characters, I definitely would want somebody like Bryan Cranston who can really bring it. That's why I'm casting the villains first here. Now, if I had to recast Zod, that's tough, because Michael Shannon did such a fucking amazing job as Zod. But if I really had to go deep and I really had to recast it, I might think of... Actually, no, I would keep Michael Shannon. For Batman, let's go into some of the good guys now. Batman, I really like Ben Affleck. I really, really like Ben Affleck as well, so I would probably keep him.
But let's say this was a world before Ben Affleck was cast. So before they even approached Ben Affleck, say DC said, Nick, who do you want to be the next Batman? Who would have been your pick?
Who would I want to be the next Batman?
So we're living in the post-Nolan world, the pre-Affleck world, and Jeff Johns and Zack Snyder and Chris Terrio and David Goyer said to you, Nick, who should be the new Batman? Who would you pick?
I think Armie Hammer. He was actually in talks for a while to be Batman. I think he would have been a decent Batman, but let's skip that because that's already been out there in the ether. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one, especially because I'm put on the spot here. But maybe I would maybe give Val Kilmer another crack at it, but I think that because it's already been established, they couldn't go back and recast him again, because then that would cause confusion.
Okay, what about, because they said Batman v Superman is going to be heavily inspired by The Dark Knight Returns. Now, if you've read The Dark Knight Returns, that is a much older Batman.
Right.
Batman is in his 50s and 60s, who's been around, he's retired. What if we just decided to cast Michael Keaton?
No.
Michael Keaton's back. He won an Oscar.
No.
Michael Keaton. You want to get nuts?
Because that's the same issue that I arrive at with...
Tell me, do you bleed? Superman, you want to get nuts? Come on. Let's get nuts.
Yeah, no, I get it. But this is for the same reason that I can't say Val Kilmer, because it would just cause confusion. You know what I mean?
Kilmer than Keaton?
Yeah. Just because, like, the Keaton universe, like the Tim Burton Batman universe, is a really like clear cut, separate thing that sits on its own. Those two movies are fantastic. They're works of art. They're not really Batman, but they kind of are. You know what I mean? They're so far removed from what Batman actually is, but it's still a decent thematic, kind of romp. It's a lot of fun. But I don't think that you could ever take Keaton because of those two other films and put him in another one. You know what I mean? And have him play Batman.
Imagine a standalone Dark Knight Returns film set in the Keaton verse. I've just coined a phrase.
Yeah, the Keaton verse. Nice.
With Michael Keaton as Batman, Christopher Reeve as Superman, and Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
No, no, and no.
In an ideal world, how cool would that have been?
Yeah, no. I don't know, man.
Fuck you.
Okay, I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but here's the thing about Superman is that
Just
the
hang on.
reason that I don't like Superman, that
You're the man that said Patrick Swayze should play Aquaman.
Patrick Swayze, if he was still alive, yeah, maybe, because just watch him in Point Break. Watch him in Point Break. Put him in some fucking orange and green scales, and bam, there you go. There's your Aquaman. He's got the fucking hair, man.
We're not casting people just because they have hair.
We're casting them because they
embody
the role, and I think
I think Patrick Swayze. Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, we're talking about 90s though, right? Because you went back and said like, let's get Keaton, let's get Christopher Reeve, let's get two dead guys to play our main characters, basically.
Yeah.
So we're back in the 90s now. But if we're back in the 90s, okay, then I would say. And this would never happen, but you're saying that I'm the studio head, that I make the decisions, that I'm the executive producer, I'm working closely with the casting director. I would say, okay, change the course of history, okay? Batman the Animated Series never happens. You get Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill to star in a Batman versus Joker movie in the early 90s. And I'll tell you why. Because Kevin Conroy is not only an amazing voice actor, but he also studied at Juilliard. He's also been a performer on Broadway. He's done a lot of stage performances. He's done a lot of things with his body and his face, moreover than just with his voice. So to have this character who really recognizes and embodies Batman on more levels than one, I think it would be a phenomenal take. Especially, we're talking early 90s. So this is like 20, 30 years ago, okay? Where we have Mark Hamill, who is also a phenomenal actor, but has always been fucking typecast and has never been able to do another role other than really the Joker. He's been the trickster. He's been in the Wing Commander video games, and he really hasn't done a lot of other acting roles.
He was in The Force Awakens for 3 seconds.
He was in The Force Awakens for 30 seconds. He was in Sushi Lunch, which is a crazy-ass movie if you haven't seen it. It's not very good, but it's crazy, and it's pretty much Mark Hamill playing the Joker, but not the Joker. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think that would have been a phenomenal film, and at the same time, maybe could have also coincided with the Batman animated series. But I do think that Kevin Conroy is the best Batman ever. Sorry, Keaton. Sorry.
Do you think Ben Affleck could trump him?
No.
Really?
There's a lot of reasons why. Number one is because Kevin Conroy has been Batman for so long. That's a whole other thing.
Looking back 20 years in time, so say 20 years from now, we look back at Ben Affleck's career as Batman. Mm-hmm. Do you think we could be talking about Ben Affleck as the quintessential Batman?
He's probably going to be the best on-screen Batman that we've seen. And from a lot of the reports that I've seen, a lot of what friends have told me who saw it, that Ben Affleck is pretty much the best on-screen incarnation since Christian Bale, which is funny because like Christian Bale was the last one. He was just Batman. He didn't even finish folding the fucking cape. You know what I mean? Before that other guy came out.
Literally 4 years ago.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that Ben Affleck is gonna do a great job. But if I could have recasted and maybe kind of changed the whole Schumacher epidemic, just give it to Kevin Conroy. But the thing is, I don't think they would ever cast someone like Kevin Conroy as Batman, so that's why I kind of jumped in the studio exec's shoes. I think that George Clooney under another script or a better director could have done a better job. Because you look at George Clooney and you see Bruce Wayne, you see kind of like a salt and pepper haired Batman, you know what I mean, or Bruce Wayne. But as far as like characters that nobody has mentioned, nobody's talked about, nobody has gone over, I would say Jim Parsons from The Big Bang Theory would have been really good Batman. Yeah, that's who I'm sticking. I'm gonna go with that.
See that at all. I do not see
I
that.
think he really wants
one
to
bit.
be Edward Nygma, but I feel like he would be an incredibly annoying Edward Nygma, and he would play it too campy. For the Edward Nygma is the Riddler, but yeah, I would give him a shot in an audition just to see what he would do with it. But I think in this
I've
new
always said
universe,
that-
it wouldn't work.
I've always said that. I don't know. He was in Jessica Jones. But I always thought David Tennant could play a good Riddler.
Oh hell yeah! Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you've seen Marvel's Jessica Jones, he absolutely brings it.
Or
as
even
the
Mad
perfect
Hatter.
man.
He could play Mad Hatter too.
Yeah.
Even though he's kind of like a
always thought
smaller
he just
villain.
has that. And we really, when he was in Doctor Who, we really saw his very eccentric and large than life personality. And then in kind of Jessica Jones, we see him play this cold sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And if you kind of mix those two together, you get Edward Nygma.
Mm-hmm.
But so as we've kind of deviated onto it, let's talk about the new Batman universe. We're seeing the new DC Extended Universe. All of the actors who have been cast in this new little, what's most likely going to be the Batman film, are all Oscar-winning actors.
Shit.
We've got.
I'm sorry. It just came to me. Tim Roth is Batman.
Get out.
Tim Roth is fucking Batman.
Tim Roth.
Yes,
will make
Tim
Batman
Roth is
villain.
fucking Batman. Do you know how much range that guy has?
Tim
He could
Roth is
play-
an incredible actor.
You throw any character at him of any persona, of any like lifestyle, whatever, he will
Okay.
fucking embody it and crush it, dude.
Okay, so
He's physically capable of doing it. He's the
Okay,
right age
okay.
range. He has the physique. I think he could totally do it.
Daniel Day-Lewis is Batman.
Well, Daniel Day-Lewis would never do that, but yeah, hell yeah, of course. Of course Daniel Day-Lewis is Batman.
There you go. There we go, people. Daniel Day-Lewis is Batman.
You can't do that. You son of a bitch.
No, DC came to us and asked what we think. It doesn't matter if they say no.
You asked me what I thought, and then you trump me with fucking
You're
Daniel
talking about-
Day-Lewis.
You talking about
You
Jim
can cast
Parsons?
Daniel Day-Lewis as anything, and it'll beat, like, whatever. Okay. What
You
were
didn't
you
specify
saying?
you couldn't say that. But, we're talking about the DC Extended Universe, and we're talking about the possibility of a Batman standalone film. So far, all of the actors being cast so far in this new little Batman universe are all Oscar winners. Of
Yeah.
course, we've got Ben Affleck, we've got Jeremy Irons, we've got Jared Leto, and now we've got J.K. Simmons
Mm-hmm.
as Commissioner Gordon, which I don't think is something we've talked about yet, but I really like that.
It's a weird
But
casting to me, but I
it's
could
weird.
see it. I think
It's
he's
never
capable.
wrong to add talent into a movie, and J.K. Simmons is a fantastic actor, and I think he do really well. But so we're looking at the cast. We've got Jenna Malone, who may or may not be a specific character related to the Batman mythos. She probably is.
She's not.
She probably is.
Jenna Malone. She's been cut out of the film. Fucking.
She's in the Blu-ray.
Yeah,
I-
but Snyder said directly that she's not who
She's-
you think she is.
No,
She's
no.
not an important
Snyder
character.
says she's not Batgirl. She says she's not Carrie Kelly and she's not Batgirl.
Okay, so that's
That's the direct quote.
most of the major characters. Who the fuck else is she gonna play? Talia al Ghul? Who's she gonna
Barbara
play?
Gordon.
Fucking Vicky Vale? Like
She's
no,
Barbara
dude. Who
I
else
will
could she
put
play?
more- She's Barbara Gordon.
No, she's not.
Yes, she
No,
is.
she's fucking not, dude.
She is Barbara
I
Gordon.
guarantee you she's not Barbara
I guarantee
Gordon.
you she is Barbara Gordon.
Okay.
And we'll
Alright.
talk about why I think she is after the show,
Okay.
because I may have a reason to believe this. But this is besides the point. So we've been seeing a lot of casting news for the upcoming Batman standalone movie, of course. We've heard the news that J.K. Simmons is casting Justice League. We've got Ben Affleck. We've got Jeremy Irons. We've got Jared Leto. What I want you to do is while we're doing a little bit of fan casting, let's fan cast some characters for the upcoming Batman film.
Okay.
Why not? So let's start with some villains. So if you had to pick 3 villains that you'd like to see on screen in a standalone Batman film, some that we might have seen before in the Burton, Schumacher or Nolan films, or some we've never seen before, and who your choice would be to play them.
Well, I'm almost positive that the standalone Batman film is going to have Joker. They're probably
Yeah,
going to
but-
have Joker as that villain, but like let's skip that. Let's assume that he's going to fight like 3 new villains, or we're talking about the universe here, so we're talking about sequels, right? Multiple films here. I definitely like to see, the Riddler make a return. I definitely like to see, um, something that makes sense in this new universe. So we have someone who's a regular human, then we should have somebody that's kind of like a metahuman villain, which would be pretty cool. Um, I want to say Clayface, but I don't know if Clayface would work as a villain for an entire film. You know,
I think he'd be more of a side villain. What about the
because I
possibility of
mean,
someone
well,
like
he's like a pretty brilliant like criminal mastermind. So you can have a
yeah,
whole like gang thing or organized crime plot around Clayface, but does he really? It's like, can you see Ben Affleck punching Clayface? Like, I can't really see that. I
no,
could see him solving Riddler's riddles. I could see him, maybe escaping a death trap kind of scenario, which would be pretty cool.
yeah.
But I don't know about Clayface. I don't know who do you got? Let me think for a little bit.
Um, I think one that I've always thought would be a really cool piece of casting, and I know he probably won't do the film because he turned down Doctor Strange, but Joaquin Phoenix, I think, could play a really, really good Two Face. What do you think about that?
Maybe I think that if like for Toothface, I would want somebody that's a little bit more distinguished. Like Aaron Eckhart as Toothface was amazing because he
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
embodied that gentleman, and like he's still a gentleman but driven over the edge to be a psychopath. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas I find Joaquin Phoenix to just be fucking creepy at all times. He's
So,
always creepy and always weird. You know what I mean? So
so
we'd
who
have to
would you
have that
say?
duality.
So who would you say Joaquin Phoenix could play in a Batman universe?
Maybe Hugo Strange. Um,
Maybe.
maybe like not shave his head because
What
I
about
think he'd look
someone like
weird.
a? What about someone like a Hush?
Maybe. I think that would be too obscure for your average film goer to jump
But I
into.
think
Whereas
I
like Hugo
I'm going to
Strange
disagree
is
with you.
still.
I think the Hush storyline lends itself quite well to a film adaptation because if you can very much read the Hush story as a standalone graphic novel because it introduces you to a lot of the Batman universe, introduces you to a lot of the supporting cast and a lot of the villains,
Mhm.
and it's a very kind of it's a murder mystery story.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, and I think that this Batman is really going more on the psychological
Yeah,
tier versus like the I just gonna kick everyone's ass. Like he's more than capable of doing that, as we've seen in the trailers and we will see in the film. But I think that you do make a good point about Hush, but I worry that it's not enough of a. It's definitely a fan favorite, but my mom doesn't know any of those villains, or like my family doesn't know any of those villains. My
well,
girlfriend doesn't know any of those villains. Or yeah.
yeah, but so say we look at a character. Let's look at a film like I don't know, look at any of the major superhero films recently. They're not necessarily using the most well-known villains.
Mm, I don't know. Like Loki's a pretty big villain for Thor. Um, Ultron,
Yeah,
huge
but
villain.
we look at the Iron Man franchise. They didn't immediately start with the Mandarin. They went with someone like the Ironmonger, who's
Yeah, but yeah, I guess people don't generally know Ironmonger. You're right.
oh,
Yeah.
or
It just worked better for an origin story though, because
yeah,
if
it did.
like if the Mandarin showed up during the beginning of fucking
You know
Iron
what?
Man, he would have
It would have
killed
been
Iron Man.
it would have been nice to see the Mandarin show up at any point
You
during the
will
Iron Man
see.
trilogy.
I'm telling you, dude. They're gonna kick the Mandarin out. They're gonna because they have a lot of movies to make. They have so many fucking movies to make, and they already did the groundwork for
Do
Mandarin.
you
So
think that Ben Kingsley would reprise the role? I know it obviously wouldn't be the character that he played, but do you think he
no,
could keep
I
the
don't
actor on?
think I don't think Ben Kingsley would have anything to do with it. Mainly because of the fear of backlash from the fans. So like
Yeah.
Marvel Studios would just be like, Ben Kingsley, you're a great guy. We love working with you, but because you're not necessarily incredibly important to this plot, and the fans didn't like you in the first one, they were really upset that we didn't have the real Mandarin. We're gonna avoid
But
that altogether. You know, even casting in the film, because then they're going to be like, oh, you see, he's back. Because a lot of people read headlines and they don't actually read the story, read the article or the information that's attached to the headline. So when they see the headline, Ben Kingsley returning, you know, in new Iron Man movie with Mandarin, they're going to be like freaking the fuck out. So they're going to avoid that altogether. If I had to cast, the Mandarin, which it's tough because like it's kind of like racist, but I would cast Ken Watanabe. I think he makes a great villain. I think he makes a really good bad guy.
That is not a bad idea, actually.
Yeah. I think he would fit so well in the Marvel Cinematic Universe too. You know what I mean? Just like a weird, you know, quiet, soft-spoken fucking maniac, you know, with incredible power. I think that would be great. But going back to Batman now, though, we were talking about possibly Hush jumping in there for a movie. We're talking about maybe Clayface, although I'm kind of backing out on Clayface a little bit more. I'd really like to see Edward Nygma rather. I'd really like to see Red Hood, which I think we're going to see. You know,
I do.
Because that just fits so well in this fucking universe. You know what I mean? Especially when Batman is having this like the struggle of consciousness of like whether or not he should kill or not. You know what I mean? I think
you know what I've just realized.
Yeah,
is Laura Cohen playing Martha Wayne?
She is.
So that means that Batman's parents are Negan and Maggie.
Yeah.
Glenn is not going to be too pleased with this.
No.
Glenn is getting royally shafted.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Maybe that's why this Batman is a bit more brutal, because he is the son of Negan.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Everything makes more sense now.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know what the hell we're talking about, Negan is a really, really bad guy in The Walking Dead. Like, really bad. That hasn't been introduced just yet in the show, but he's coming soon. Jeffrey Dean Morgan is his name?
Yeah.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan. From the comedian from Watchmen, another Zack Snyder film.
And that's fucking unfortunate, too, because I would have cast Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Two-Face. Because you were asking me who I would get to play Two-Face. Like, that would be a good casting right there.
I saw a lot of people saying before Ben Affleck was cast about Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Batman.
Absolutely.
Which,
but he's not a big enough name to like a marquee name for that.
For that reason.
Yeah.
But he probably could have done a good job if he had been cast.
I really wish we would stop like doing that shit. Or not us in particular. We're not responsible for it. But when they take casting, when they take casting and they're just like, we need a big marquee name to sell this. And it's like, well, Star Wars didn't. You know what I mean? You have to, it kind of reminds me of like when you apply to a job and they're just like, well, you need 12 years of experience to do this. It's like, well, where the fuck am I going to get the experience unless I work this job?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like there are so many actors out there that would kill it as Batman, that would kill it as Superman and as, you know, Spider-Man and, you know, all these other people, but they really need to go for marquee names. They need to go for big names.
I do feel like the superhero genre is starting to get there. I mean, you know, Tom Holland, Spider-Man, who's seen a lot of Tom Holland before.
But Tom Holland, I'm not gonna lie though, he is a really decent actor, and he is in some very high profile movies. He was in At the Heart of the Sea. Meh.
But,
he was also in
any performances recently. You know, Tom Holland, he did A Heart to Sea. He was in Locke. He was in The Impossible, but he hasn't done a whole lot.
That's a lot though. Like at that age, that's a lot. The kid is young, dude. You know, so he's been working most of his life. And it's, you know, I think in that sense he's paid his dues. He's made the right connections.
Let's say there's a 6-year age difference between him and John Boyega. He's been in the same amount of films as John Boyega.
Is he really that age? I thought he was a lot younger. I thought he was like 16, 17 tops.
Tom Holland is 19.
Oh, shit. Okay. Yeah.
He just looks about 12.
Yeah, okay.
I know, we're getting off topic, but I know one of the most kind of popular fan casting for Batman at the time was Carl Urban.
Carl Urban
would have made a good Batman. I mean, he made a great Dredd.
Carl Urban is probably one of the best names on this list so far for who could have played Batman, honestly. He has everything required. He has the physique, he has the voice, he has the height and the build. Well, he could work on the build a little bit, but I don't even think that Batman needed to be this cock diesel in Batman versus Superman. It's kind of like a callback to The Dark Knight Returns, where Frank Miller just drew him like a fucking looks like
Which
a
doesn't
juice
make sense
box.
because if it was a Batman that hasn't been active for about 10 years,
It looks
you
like a
think a lot of
fucking
that
juice
muscle man,
box.
you think that muscle mass would start to kind of go a little bit if he's not been active for so long. But
That's true. That's true.
let's not get into
But
it.
yeah, definitely,
Let's not irate Frank Miller.
definitely, Carl Urban would be a great choice. And I would definitely say, like, just imagine that. And the unfortunate thing is that, like, we're film fanatics, and like we're into comics and we're into pop culture and stuff like that. We're more like connoisseurs than your average film goer. But let's say we had a film with a fucking Dark Knight film. We got Carl Urban as the Dark Knight, and then we have Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Two-Face. And we have, Edward Nygma played by, I just want to say Jim Parsons, because he has dramatic chops. Don't forget about the Big Bang Theory.
If you give me 2 minutes, I can find 3 better actors to play the Riddler.
Well, because you're in fucking IMDb. I don't have IMDb in front of me. I'm running a fucking show.
Jim Carrey coming back.
Blow me. And I'll tell you why.
No. Okay, let me just click on a load of links.
I'm telling you, dude. Jim Parsons has acting chops, dramatic chops, and he could totally make this.
Still alive?
Is who?
Frank Gorshin.
I don't know who that is.
The guy that played Riddler. No, he's not alive. The one that played Riddler in the 60s series.
Oh,
he's not alive. He could have done it though.
No.
I would rather see. No.
Okay, let's continue on though. We've been talking about Batman.
Rather see Jeremy Piven.
Jeremy Piven as Edward Nygma?
Yes.
No.
That
He
was
would
just the
be
first name that came up.
he would be a fucking great Batman though. He would be an amazing Bruce Wayne. Dude, tell me not. He would be a fucking incredible Bruce Wayne. Then you put him in the fucking cape and cowl, you have him punch the shit out of people. That would be amazing.
The number 5 pick on what culture's 10 actors who play the Riddler. Number 5 is Steve Buscemi.
Yes, only because because Steve Buscemi, he's a phenomenal actor, and I think with the right direction and the right
Guess who the number 1 pick is? And it's one of my favorite actors actually, Sam Rockwell.
Oh fuck! How can I forget about fucking Sam Rockwell? I think he's pretty engrossed in Marvel still, because they're gonna be bringing back Justin Hammer, and AIM. But yeah, no, I think he would be phenomenal. I think he would have even been a good Joker, perhaps.
What about Jeff Goldblum? What's Jeff Goldblum doing these days?
Jeff Goldblum's a little too old.
Yeah, but it's a Batman that's been around for 20 years.
Oh, is that who we're casting right now? We're still on the older kind of Batman thing. Well, I mean, if it's an older Batman saga, then yeah, definitely get him in there. Otherwise, he's a little too old.
I don't care about age.
But could you
Channing Tatum play everyone?
Could you imagine though, like Jeff Goldblum in a fucking Tim Burton Batman movie? Like how awesome that would have been if he played anybody for that matter.
Wait, what about Ewan McGregor?
For who?
I don't know, anyone.
Ewan McGregor.
I just want to see him in more movies. Do you think Ewan McGregor could play the Riddler?
He has a really bad American accent. It's really bad. Like if you've seen The Island, it's horrendous.
You see, people, if you didn't know, this is how casting works in major studios. We find actors on IMDb, then we say, who could they play? And
Absolutely.
we work from there.
Absolutely.
What about, do you reckon Ewan McGregor could play the Riddler?
Maybe, because he doesn't necessarily, the Riddler doesn't have to be American. Yeah, maybe. I would definitely say it's possible. I would get him in for an audition for a chemistry reading.
Let's talk about Victor Fries.
Victor Fries.
I think Mr. Freeze is the character that really does deserve a good adaptation on screen because he's one of the most interesting Batman villains, and he has the most emotional depth out of a lot of the Batman characters.
Yeah.
He isn't necessarily a bad guy.
Right. I mean, if anyone was put in his position, in Victor Freeze's position, with his wife, and all that stuff, well, like, you'd probably do the same. If given the same, IQ and scientific, the science lab and all that shit, I would do the same thing in a heartbeat. I can't really say that for all the other Batman villains or the Rogues
So,
Gallery, you know.
say we did get Mr. Freeze in an upcoming Batman movie. Who would your pick be to play him?
Schwarzenegger is back.
Oh,
No, I would cast as Victor Freeze. Oh man, that's too
do
bad
you know
Alan
what's sad?
Rickman is
Do you know
dead.
who my pick would be?
Who?
And he's actually already in the DC Cinematic Universe.
Hmm.
But Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking about Jeremy Irons, and then I was like, well, fuck, I can't because he's already, you know.
Imagine Jeremy Irons as Victor Freeze.
He would be a great Victor Freeze, but I would also say maybe Alan Rickman, even though he's unfortunately deceased
Sadly
recently.
passed away.
He's sadly passed away this year. He would have been a really good Victor
Yeah.
Freeze. Just anyone with that kind of cold,
What about
you know, British kind of delivery of just being very matter of fact, but nothing personal.
I think someone like a John Hurt, slightly too old.
Yeah, John Hurt's too old. Yeah.
What about someone like a Christoph Waltz?
Well, that's no, because Christoph Waltz is not. He's too cheeky. You know what I mean? Like he always plays this like kind of
Maybe.
cheeky, silly kind of fun villain. Maybe as the Riddler, he'd be a great Riddler. I think. In another universe, maybe he would have even been a fun Joker. You know, like just a fun for a different tone of movie. He would be like a really fun Joker. But, you know, I would say maybe Liev Schreiber as he's Sabretooth, pretty hardcore Sabretooth. But like
I like Liev Schreiber, but I think Liev Schreiber's slightly too young. I think for Mr. Freeze, I think you do want an older. At least the way I see the character.
well, is Ben Affleck still Batman in these movies here? Or are we
Well,
abandoning that shit?
either way, I've always envisioned Mr. Freeze as a bit of an older character. But if we're going with someone slightly younger, what about someone like a Mark Strong?
He's already got the dome.
I mean, he's already got the dome, but just that cold, stern kind
Yeah,
of demeanor
yeah,
that
no,
Mark Strong
I could
brings.
totally see that. I could definitely see that. Um,
I mean, he was Sinestro, but I don't think we're meant to talk about that anymore.
that didn't happen.
Even though
It's
he
been
was
completely wiped.
really, really good casting as Sinestro.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think Mark Strong would definitely be a good Doctor Freeze, Mr. Freeze.
Doctor Freeze? When did
As
he
far
get
as
his
I'm concerned, it's
PhD?
fucking Doctor Freeze. Like he's a doctor. He's Doctor Victor Freeze, and then he becomes Mr. Freeze. It never made sense to
I'm
me.
Mr. White Christmas. I'm Mr. Snow.
Um, let's.
Do you know what the original name for Victor Freeze was?
Frosty.
Before
Frosty Weintraub.
Steve Weintraub as Mr. Freeze.
Yes,
it.
immediately make it happen, Hollywood. Make it happen.
It was actually the Batman 60s TV show that renamed him Mr. Freeze.
Really?
Before that, in the comics, he first introduced in 1959, he went under a different name,
And that name was.
Mr. Zero.
Oh, that's right. That's right. That is one of his aliases. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, so we've done a lot of fan casting. We'll definitely do some more of that in the future, probably even in this episode. But I want to move on to the next topic. We talked about the DC Universe. A lot of shit going on over there. A lot of things that we're excited about, things that we haven't talked about yet that we have just discussed, and there's much more to discuss after Batman vs. Superman comes out, because that is said to be the gateway into the Justice League. So once
Also,
we see
before
that...
we do, I've just thought one more casting
Yes.
for Mr. Freeze. And I don't know how I've not thought of this before, but I think this could be really cool. Giancarlo Espinosa.
Yeah. Yeah,
Or
you
as
know
he's
what?
also known as Gus Fring.
Because
from
honestly,
Breaking
most of Gus Fring is Victor Freeze. Like his whole fucking demeanor, his like how he doesn't get frazzled, he doesn't panic like that. Holy shit. Ladies and gentlemen, Owen Farrington with the casting of
Bad. Casting of the
Mr.
week.
Victor Freeze, Dr. Victor Freeze as Juan Carlo Esposito. Actually, have a story of working with him before. Made somebody. He's working in Long Island on this like student project thing. It's like a school thing, and he sends this fucking guy out for a bagel. And he's gone for like 45 minutes because like there's nowhere close to get fucking bagels out there. So he comes back and he's like, "This isn't the bagel that I wanted. Do you think I can have another one?" And he makes the guy go and get another fucking bagel. So, sure, maybe he's polite and everything like that, but as far as I'm concerned, like being on a set, you don't make a fucking PA do that, dude. Like that's why people don't want to be PAs and don't want a production assistant and like put in their dues in order to work their way up the film chain, is because people make PAs do shit like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I would definitely feel for whoever was directing him at that point. But yeah, phenomenal casting. We definitely should move on though to some more topics. We've been talking about DC for like 45 fucking minutes already. So let's move on to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We have Civil War coming out real soon. We have been teased after years of speculation and hope and prayer. We've been given Spider-Man. That's right. He's shooting webs. He's flipping around. He's got the little kid voice. He sounds like a teenager that's in high school. I mean, my initial reactions were pretty damn high. I felt that it was the strongest trailer. I think that it showed more of this darker tone. It really felt like kind of an Empire Strikes Back of the series, of the cinematic universe. What were your initial reactions to it, Owen?
Well, actually, if you want to check out my initial reactions, I actually did a trailer reaction video on my channel.
You see how good I am at setting up these plugs?
You line them up, I'll knock them down. I actually, the trailer just came out, so I had everything set up, so I just sat down, I filmed my reactions, and I look like I'm crying like a little girl.
Did you get sued by the Fine Bros?
Not at this moment in time, but, anything can happen.
Hey, let's knock on wood, make sure that doesn't happen.
But I really, really like the trailer. There were a few people in the comments of my videos talking about how the CGI for Spider-Man may have looked a little strange. Maybe that's because, the film's not finished. The effects aren't completely done.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to say that he looks like... I don't know if they have these over in the UK, but in the US we have, like, ice cream trucks, and they have these little, like, Spider-Man ice cream pops with, like, gumball eyeballs. And I swear to God, like, the colors were like, the swatches were taken off of that popsicle and put onto the Spider-Man costume.
But, I really like the new design of the costume. It very much harks back to the early Steve Ditko, John Romita kind of artwork, which I think is a nice change of pace from the Amazing Spider-Man 2, which very much went the other way with a more Todd McFarlane, Mark Bagley-esque kind of costume design.
Right.
So I think it's nice that, who thought in this day and age we'd be living in a world where we can go from having a Mark Bagley, Todd McFarlane style Spider-Man suit to a Steve Ditko, John Romita Sr. style Spider-Man suit. That's awesome.
Well, this is just a start, though, because from what I'm told, and from what I've read, this Spider-Man costume is going to change throughout the movies. This is not his costume for the cinematic universe.
I think that costume is the final costume.
No, it's not.
I think it is, because they've said he's going to have two costumes in the film. That costume isn't makeshift. That is the Spider-Man suit.
That's not what I'm talking about, though.
What are you saying?
I mean, like, all right, so you know how Captain America's suit changes every movie?
Yeah,
Iron Man's suit changes every movie. Right.
Every film, they'll slightly tweak the costume, but I think that isn't his makeshift costume. That is his costume.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is his. I'm ready to kick ass and maybe take like some energy blasts and have my split
like
hoodie not ripped.
Like Marvel do with Iron Man and Captain America, they'll make slight little tweaks and changes to the suit in each film. But I think for the sake, that is the Spider-Man costume, and I like the addition of the kind of almost like lenses for eyes where you can kind of adjust and focus. I think that also lends right to the idea that Tony Stark may have helped with the design and the construction of the suit.
Right.
Maybe.
Oh, he absolutely has. Because back in the day, when we were waiting for Age of Ultron to come out, many moons ago, they have this YouTube channel called WHIH News, in which they do like fake news broadcasts in the style of CNN or whatever, but it's for the MCU. It's set in the MCU, so they talk about the destruction of Sokovia. They talk about all this other shit. And on the bottom ticker, they talk about how Tony Stark has formed a grant for inner city New York City students. And Peter Parker is clearly one of those students. So that suit is definitely Stark tech. He has the code name of Underoos for this guy to come in and do the Underoos maneuver. I think that's definitely, that's definitely the work of Tony Stark. You may have also noticed, you mentioned that the eye thing, right? They have kind of like aperture changing kind of thing. But you may have also noticed the wrists. He has web shooters on his wrist. He has like either smartwatches, he has an Apple Watch, or he has a web shooter. I'm not sure. It might be both. But I think that brings up this interesting point of, is the new Spider-Man, I'm going to give this to you, Owen, is the new Spider-Man going to be outfitted with all kinds of new tech? Is it going to be a tech-based Spider-Man on top of his Spidey powers?
I think that if it's a Stark tech suit, then it'd make sense that the suit would be built with lots of tech. I don't think it'd be to the extent of, say, the Iron Man suit. But I think, I think we've seen that the wrist shooters are on the outside of the costume. He's got cartridges on his waist. I think there'll be a little bit, like, I do imagine that his eyes will be able to zoom in and out and kind of scan a little bit. Not to the extent of the way Tony Stark does, but still. So I don't think there's going to be too much tech, but I think there'll be I think there'll be when necessary, I think they'll add a little bit of technology to kind of help Spider-Man.
Maybe this is their way of doing the Iron Spider suit without doing the Iron Spider
Yeah,
suit.
that's what I thought. I think
know?
there's an element of the story behind the Iron Spider suit, even if it's not the Iron Spider suit itself.
Yeah. I think it's going to be really cool. I think that they're going to put just enough tech in there to be like, oh, well, he has, he can X-ray shit. He can see things. But maybe by the end of this film, much like Civil War, Spidey tosses that Iron Spider suit out. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
He does his own thing. So that way, when we see the standalone Spider-Man film, he has like a whole nother getup. You know what I mean? That doesn't have that tech in it.
Yeah. But while we're here, I feel like there's something we really, really should be talking about.
Okay.
And if anyone hasn't finished watching the show yet, I would advise that you should probably leave now, bookmark the video, and come back to it when you have watched it, because I want to talk about Daredevil.
Oh, absolutely. There is Daredevil is in the Civil War trailer. No, I'm kidding. I'm fucking totally kidding. Daredevil was phenomenal. I watched it over the course of 2 days. I really tried to marathon it in one day, but I just couldn't.
I did it over 3 days. I did 4, 4, 5.
Yeah, I think Reese Randolph made such an excellent point about it. It's like, damn, I wish there was another way that they release these shows. Like, I definitely like them all coming out at once, the entire series. But then it becomes kind of like a race with your friends to like who the fuck can watch it the fastest. But then when you watch it fast like that, you don't necessarily take it in the way that it's meant to be taken in.
And not only that, then you're just like, well, what do I do with my life now?
Right. Yeah, you just binge it and then you're just like, well, shit, my cats are dead.
Then you have an existential crisis, and
yeah,
you build a set, and
I really like Daredevil.
I'm just trying to find purpose.
I really like Daredevil. I think it was a phenomenal show. I think it was a vast improvement of the first. Not to say that the first season was bad, but over on my channel, Golden Vision, you'll see a series review of the first season that I did, which is all 13 episodes of the first season without spoilers. And I think I'm going to return to that and do another one with spoilers and kind of talk about the entire series as a whole.
Nice.
But one of the main things that I had mentioned in that review of season 1 was that the set design and that New York City itself didn't really feel like a living, breathing city. It didn't feel like the city that I was born in. Now, the second season definitely feels like New York City. It really, you feel the dirt, you feel the grime, you feel that people aren't looking out for each other. They're just trying to get home safely. I think that they paid closer attention to character development in this series, less than plot development. It was really about the characters this season rather than what's happening with New York City. So I think that these were all very, very huge, very large improvements over the first season. What about you, Owen? What do you think?
I'm going to have to watch the second series again, because I think I do slightly prefer season 1, and I'll explain why. I think as individual elements, I think season 2 is superior to season 1. But as an overall story, I think season 1 flows slightly better. Now, I want to talk about John Bernthal as the Punisher, who was fan-freaking-tastic.
Absolutely. Best Punisher on screen ever. There's only been 3.
There's two scenes that stick out to me. The one is what I'm going to call the choice scene, which is the scene where Daredevil's kind of tied up to the chimney on the rooftop, and the Punisher's trying to make Daredevil choose, who he kills. Is he going to shoot the criminal, or is he going to shoot the Punisher? What I didn't actually realise until doing research for a video is that is literally lifted from Garth Ennis's Punisher series.
Oh yeah, like frame by frame.
Like
yeah.
Panel, like they use the same dialogue as in Garth Ennis's series, which I think is awesome.
Oh, this whole series was such a huge homage to Garth Ennis, and that was what I
Yeah,
like when we were talking about this coming up. I was just like, dude, I hope they do the Garth Ennis shit. I
with
hope they do this like
but as
Punisher
much as
that's
it was Garth
mysterious and stuff.
Ennis,
But it's yeah, it's straight from
but
the
as
comics.
but as much as it was Garth Ennis, it was Frank Miller.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All the storyline with the Hand and with Elektra
Mm-hmm.
was very reminiscent of Frank Miller.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's something to be said that it's not it's not easy to do a television show that's true to source material like that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I think it's really the first show to be so true to the source material like that. You know what I
hmm
mean? Like Smallville obviously was a Elseworld story, pretty much. You know what I mean? Lois and Clark, completely Elseworld story. You know
yeah,
what I mean? These are DC franchises.
hmm
The X-Men cartoon was fairly close to the storyline of the comics.
but
They
it was
altered things.
awesome.
It was awesome. Excuse me.
Unlike the other two, the X-Men animated series is awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But this show does a great job because like we've read these comics. We live and breathe fucking Daredevil and Punisher and like Garth Ennis
Yeah,
and Frank Miller and but for the show to still be surprising, to still have those moments of oh shit, while still maintaining that feel, it felt so much more like a comic. You know what I mean? And I think what may have bothered you, and I don't want to tell you what bothered you. You tell me if I'm
don't you
correct.
tell me what bothered me.
But I
I
think
know
what
me. You
bothered you
don't
is
know
that,
me.
spoiler alert, there are like 3 or 4 different storylines happening simultaneously throughout this series,
Yeah,
throughout the second season. So whereas the first season was more cohesive, they're only trying to defeat Kingpin. Now in this season, we're trying to figure out who the fuck Blacksmith is, and what's up with Punisher, and what's going on with
yeah.
Elektra, and who exactly is
Black
um,
Sky,
what is Black Sky, and who exactly is
the
Stick,
Hand.
and who is the Hand, because like the comic book readers
Then
know,
there's
but if we're
yeah.
taking this in as a standalone series, we don't really know anything about Stick. This is the first that we're hearing about like a secret war and he has soldiers and shit like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I just think as individual kind of stories, the Punisher was amazing.
Yeah.
I would definitely be up for a standalone Punisher series. And Karen Page was very much involved in the Punisher side of the series, and I think their interactions were awesome. I think that just seeing in the season finale, just seeing the Punisher on the rooftop with the iconic vest with the
Hmm.
skull was awesome. And I think on the other hand, Elektra was. I'm not a big fan of Elektra in the comics. She's not a character I'm particularly fond of. Jennifer Gardner didn't do any favors in that regard,
Right.
but she was incredible.
Yeah.
I thought her chemistry with Charlie Cox, Elodie Young, she was incredible. She really brought the characters to life. I really like the new design of the character. I really like the new costume,
Hmm.
and her and Daredevil fighting ninjas together was really really cool. I liked seeing them fight together. I liked seeing the chemistry between the two actors and the two characters, and I thought that storyline itself was really cool.
Yeah.
The problem is, it just felt like, okay, we've got the Punisher, Foggy, and Karen story over here, and then we've got the Daredevil and Elektra story. I just felt like there should have been a way to kind of bring them together. We should have had the Punisher targeting Elektra, maybe.
Yeah, I really I kind of appreciate the direction that they took with the show because like it shows that Daredevil is way in over his head in a lot of ways. That
Well, it's
there's
not only that,
that
but there are
the
entire
different.
episodes where Matt doesn't even interact with Foggy and Karen.
Yeah, well, fuck
They,
them. Honestly, I could care
yeah,
less about
we
Foggy
spent
and Karen. They're
yeah,
my
but
least favorite characters.
we spent a whole first season, you know, introducing the audience to these characters and basically telling you these are the two most important side characters in Daredevil's life.
Right.
And it just feels like throughout the season, they still get a lot of screen time. Foggy Nelson and Karen Page still get a lot of screen time in Daredevil. But they're very much and their story with Punisher is treated as just important as the story with Daredevil and Elektra, but
Hmm.
there's no crossover. It
Right.
feels like two completely different shows.
Yeah, I
I
think
just
there's a
feel like
reason for that though. I think there was a decision made in the writer's office to be like, all right, well, we have Matt Murdock, but part of Daredevil and what these superheroes with secret identities, their biggest problem is trying to balance their lives. And we
Well, they
started to
didn't
see a
even.
little bit of that in the first season, but in the second season, it's so fucking clear that this guy has way too much shit going on in his life to be a good friend to
Yeah,
Karen
and
and Foggy.
towards the kind of early middle part of the season where they're having the trial of Frank Castle and Matt's not turning up, and
Yeah.
him and Foggy kind of fall out, that was executed really well. But kind of after the trial, it feels like that whole. I just feel like that whole subplot kind of fell apart a little bit, and that Matt was just off doing his thing with the lecturer, Karen and Foggy were off doing their thing, and there was just. And then at the end, of course, we're talking spoilers here. At the end, where we see Matt kind of meet with Karen again, and reveal his secret identity, it kind of felt strange because he'd essentially professed his love for Electra literally 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't know if that was necessarily meant for like any romance or anything like that. More so that this is I owe this to you, because the entire series, the entire fucking series from the first season to now, you basically have Karen saying like, "What's up with Matt? Is Matt okay? I know something is up. I know something is wrong." And there have been several times in this season, the second season, where she
Yeah.
confronts him, and he just will not give her the truth. So he starts to realize that, well, fuck, I am a really shitty friend, and I am kind of neglecting these people, and I am pushing them to the side, and like, I also know that Wilson Fisk has it out for us, all of us. So I better try to fix this and try to make sure that, they know what the deal is and that they're not left in the dark or whatever.
Yeah.
I think
And
that they kind of did what they do with Spider-Man on a near regular basis, which is like everything is happening at once, that the villains don't
yeah,
attack conveniently one after another or wait until this guy is done doing their thing before they go and do this thing. It's like all of it happens at once and you're totally overwhelmed, and it's like, how are you going to deal with all this shit? Now, the last thing that I'll say about Karen and Foggy not really dealing with Matt so much is because I think that they're trying to distance those characters. They're trying to separate them a little bit more and pull them apart a little bit more, so that way we can have the Defenders, so that way we can have more storylines that involve
but that being
higher
said,
stakes for
however,
Matt
that being
Murdock.
said, they've just, I don't know if you caught it, but they've just really hinted that Foggy Nelson is going to play kind of a role in the Defenders.
Either
In the
he's
sense that we see at the end, he gets that job at that new law firm.
Mhm.
The woman that he meets with is an ally of Jessica Jones.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's weird.
obviously,
She's not quite an ally.
but
She's
she's
like a
someone in
frenemy.
the Jessica Jones kind of sphere of influence. And of course,
Yes.
we already know that Foggy, has connections with Claire Temple, who of course has connections to Luke Cage. And, it does feel like Foggy Nelson will play a role in the formation of the Defenders.
Hmm.
So, I'm not taking it as a complaint against the season. I I do enjoy a more cohesive, kind of fine-tuned story from season one. I do feel like there were elements of season two that were a little bit all over the place. Clancy Brown as the blacksmith was kind of a weird
He
choice.
wasn't the
But Clancy
blacksmith.
Brown, but Clancy Brown in anything, he was, wasn't he?
No. He never
He
directly
was.
stated he was the blacksmith. He works with that whole group, but I don't think he was the blacksmith.
I thought he was the blacksmith.
The thing is, like, it's unclear because I've actually done some research on that too. They never directly say that he's the blacksmith either in the show or in the notes or anything like that.
Well,
So,
according to the Marvel Wiki,
mm,
Colonel Ray Shrewsbury was a member of the United States Marine Corps and secretly a powerful drug dealer named the Blacksmith.
bam, there you go. That's on the Marvel wiki for the show.
Yes.
All right, so that clarifies it, ladies and gentlemen.
But
Clancy
still,
Brown.
having Clancy Brown in anything is awesome. I didn't even realize Clancy Brown was actually in Daredevil season 2.
Yeah,
So when
he
showed
popped up,
during
and I
the
was like,
trial-
"Oh shit!"
When he
He's
showed
right.
up during the trial, I was like, "Shit, that's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, yeah,
That's animated series Lex Luthor." I'm cool with that.
yeah.
And like we talked about earlier, I do feel like it was being set up for the possibility of seeing a Born Again story in season 3, which is one of Frank Miller's very best works in Daredevil. Are you familiar with the Born Again story arc at all?
Yes, I am. I am. Now, I think that it's definitely moving towards that. But I also think that, just to defend this season a little bit more, I think this season is really trying to build up to other things. That's why
Yeah.
we end up seeing 4 different fucking stories happening. You know what I mean?
That's my major complaint is I just felt like there was a little bit too much going on at times.
Yeah.
I just felt it needed a slight bit of kind of streamlining. I really enjoyed the season. I think Charlie Cox was better than ever as Matt Murdock. I love the little tweaks to the costume. It makes it look a lot better than it did at the end of season one. Wilson Fisk popping up for a little bit was awesome. The Punisher just murdering guys in prison was cool.
That was an insane scene. Like,
And it
that
wasn't
just
even
went
the best
on
fight scene in the
forever.
show. And then,
Yeah.
everyone's talking about the hallway fight from season one. Okay, how can we one up that?
Right.
We do a fight down a staircase where Daredevil's hands are tied up, one with an empty gun and the other with a giant chain. And he takes out an entire gang of motorbikers,
Hmm.
which was for about 5.5 minutes, which is incredible. But I am looking forward to seeing season three because I do feel like we're going to get more of a focus on Fisk again.
Right.
Less as emotional crybaby Wilson Fisk and more as the kind of hard-nosed kingpin of crime, which he seems to have kind of become while in prison. And
Well, I feel like he was that before Vanessa came. Vanessa is his
yeah,
love interest in the first season. That he was that, and then he desperately tried to change, and was actually even willing to a certain extent to leave this entire kingpin business behind.
yeah,
But now you've taken away Vanessa, and you've threatened him a little bit. You've threatened his power. You've said there can only be one kingpin. You dangle a little bit of gold or fruit in front of him, and he's got to reach for it. So now that
yeah,
Vanessa's out
right.
of the mix, like, yeah, he's crazy. Vanessa was his medicine. You know what I mean? Like,
Hurt Vanessa, I'm gonna kill you. Take a shot. Awesome. But I also season three, we've got to be bringing in Bullseye.
that's what I was gonna say. Is that
It's got to be
I think
time for
that
Colin
season
Farrell.
three, like season two was really good at setting up all these other things that are happening, and I think that they also like this season did a good job at separating us a little bit more from Karen and Foggy. So you were talking about Born Again, right?
Yeah.
And for those of you who have not read Born Again, that's basically where she's in the comics. She has a pretty strong drug history,
I
and
feel
she's
like
like a recovering this and that
what
and the
I
other
find
thing.
interesting, I feel like they've kind of took a step backwards with Karen Page,
Hmm.
where in the show, Karen Page has this dark past, where in the comics, when we meet Karen Page for the first time, she is nice assistant Karen Page, and then things happen to her life over the course of the comics, which lead her down a dark present.
Right.
So I think it's heavily indicated that Karen may have had possible substance abuse or kind of
Well,
personal troubles
there is an
earlier on in her
article
life.
there is an article in Ben
Yeah,
Urich's office that states like the headline is that there was a mysterious accident or whatever like that, and she kind of breaks down to tears. She also alludes to having a sibling, dead brother, if I'm not
yeah,
mistaken. So me thinks that was her wake up call to stop doing drugs and alcohol, where she accidentally
maybe.
killed her brother and then snuck out of it. Because like I think that she has secrets that go beyond just killing Wesley from the first season. I think that
Yeah,
she maybe had gotten away with murder before that.
yeah.
At her, completely her fault, a complete innocent death, and that's why she has this sense of justice. Like she needs to make up for it.
Honestly,
So
do you remember the rumors? A while, I don't know if they were rumors. I think there actually was concrete evidence that they wanted Jason Statham to play Bullseye.
no,
There were
we were talking
several.
about that on an episode of Let's Chat Live, like fucking last year, I think. But yeah, what had happened was yeah, actually you're right. They approached Jason Statham, and something went wrong, and then he just started bad mouthing Marvel, and they were
Yeah,
just like, yeah, fuck you, you're never getting a Marvel
and
role
that's when
ever.
I think that's when they introduced John Bernthal as the Punisher, who was perfect casting because John Bernthal can play fucked up really well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think John Bernthal, like, yes, he was murderous and he was a psychopath and he did some really, like, vicious, despicable things in the show, but at the same time, you just recognize with him. You know what I mean? You really
Yeah,
felt his passion, you felt his terror, you felt everything that he'd gone through, and you felt that he was so desperately holding it back. Like, I loved the moments when, the good memories of his family would peek through, especially when he was talking to Karen, because that blew it all. That was such a weird juxtaposition to see this character from the entire show up to this point. And let's say that we had never read the comics. This is a standalone show. There are no comics. We don't know anything about the Punisher. We don't know anything about his fucking family until now. He's been
Yeah.
murdering people, stabbing people in the fucking face, cutting people in the head with hatchets and shit. And, like, he's a family man, and he just wants to get yelled at by his wife again. He wants his wife to be mad at him again. He wants all of these
Yeah.
things, you know what I mean? They just
I just
really
I just
powerful
feel
moment.
like my main complaint for season 2 of Daredevil, like I really enjoyed it. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I think I'd give season 1 a 9 out of 10. But it just feels like sometimes that Daredevil was the least interesting character in the show.
Yeah.
I just feel
Uh,
like Elektra and the Punisher were just, and that's not a detriment to Charlie
because this
Cox at
season
all.
was for universe building. It wasn't for, because we already had built up Daredevil. We had known everything about
But
Daredevil.
when the show's called Daredevil, is the main focus of the show not to make an interesting Daredevil story, or to set up future franchises? Because that's where the Amazing Spider-Man 2 fell. That it spent more time world building than actually
Well,
making
the
a compelling
title
Spider-Man
the
story.
title is not just who it's about. It's what's affecting and pushing forward and progressing the story along. So without Daredevil, none of these stories progress along. And I do get what you're saying. Like the first season definitely focused way more on Daredevil. We got more moments of of Matt Murdock sitting in his apartment contemplating shit. You know what I mean, and trying to figure things out and recuperating stuff like that. But this season was really focused on all these other characters because it's world building. The season is world building, and none of these events or character storylines would have progressed forward without Daredevil. It's kind of like the
And
same thing with like Gotham. I really hate Gotham
don't
with a
talk about
passion,
Gotham.
but Gotham is called Gotham because that is like Gotham is the main character. It's not the people in it. It's like how are they affected by the city of Gotham. So, I think that if they are when they do season 3 and they do bring in Bullseye and they do bring back Wilson Fisk and they do Born Again, I think that it's going to return more to Daredevil. But
Yeah,
this season, to me, it makes so much more sense for them to establish all these other scenarios and characters and shit like that when they have shows like Luke Cage and shows like uh, Jessica Jones season 2 coming
but
and Iron Fist.
do these shows not sell themselves just by putting the Marvel name on it?
It's not,
On
it's
them
not
at
about
this time?
selling them. It's about progressing the stories along and making a cohesive Netflix universe. Because so far, like, I don't really see any crossover between the movies and the shows other than, like, referencing the incident. So I think they're really trying
I
to build
like
their own
that.
universe. Yeah, no, I'm cool with that too. But I think that, they have to. I think there's going to be a lot more with Roxanne. We're
Yeah.
probably going to see Roxanne show up in Luke Cage. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? We're going to see Elektra definitely show up again. We're going to see the Hand show up in Iron Fist. They
Yeah.
did like all this world building so that way they can bring it back to like when we see them in the show. Oh shit, Daredevil faced them first. And then when we
Yeah.
come to the Defenders, it's like, well, Matt Murdock is the leader of the Defenders here in this iteration of the Defenders, and he has experienced all of the troubles and everything that has affected all these other characters, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Elektra, Punisher, all of them, ties back to this season of Daredevil. You know what I mean?
What I'm thinking here is when the Defenders form, who's going to be the villain in that series
For the Witch?
for the Defenders?
I don't know. It's probably... They're really building up the Hand, but what I think it's going to be like... It's probably going to be like Roxxon Corp, like a corporation that hires villains or something like that. I'll probably tie that type of shit in. I don't know. Let me see who the Defenders usually fought. Is this? I do not know.
Like, I'm just trying to think of people that we could see. Obviously it'd be quite easy to use a Wilson Fisk, and Fisk could assemble like a team of villains.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's quite an interesting idea of who could kind of. I think Kingpin's the obvious route, or the Hand.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Well, let's be real though. The Kingpin can't defeat all 4 or 5 of them. You know
no,
what
but
I mean?
the Kingpin could kind of hire, several villains we could see.
Well, I will say that most of the I'm over on Comic Vine right now, and I'm looking at like the standard villains of the Defenders, and it's a lot of them, aside from the supernatural villains, because Doctor Strange is in the Defenders. A lot
Yeah.
of these people can be excused with scientific and medical kind of reasonings behind it, just like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage. I think that's kind of what they're going to do, because they also have Nuke that appeared in
Yeah.
Jessica Jones. So I think they're really going to go towards like that Roxxon Corp, the pharmaceutical kind of medical laboratory, enemy that is producing all these villains.
What about someone like the Taskmaster? You could see someone like
Taskmaster? Do they?
Taskmaster.
I don't know if they own the rights to Taskmaster. I'm not sure.
Let's have a look.
I'm
I think they do.
Because for a
But I
while,
will
I
double check.
wanted Ward from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to be Taskmaster, who ended up being the Hive instead, the alien guy. But yeah, when I was looking into that, it was about a year ago. I think that
Let's have a look.
Taskmaster's rights weren't acquired by Marvel yet. But while you look that up, if I can go a little bit
He
deeper
was
into
in the animated movie Heroes United, Iron Man and Captain America, and do you know who voiced him? Clancy Brown. There you go.
interesting. All right, so that means they have the rights to him.
No, that was an animated though. That's very different.
Is it though?
Yeah.
Because
Let
they
me
can't have
just-
Fantastic Four in any of the animated movies.
That's because the rights structured kind of differently.
Okay, well, I'll trust you. Yeah.
Let me just. Yeah, no, the Taskmaster is back at Marvel. They regained the rights from last year.
Okay, good. So,
Fox had the rights, but they have regained them last year when I think it was all part of the Daredevil shifting with Fox. Taskmaster looks like he came with part of that. What I think is funny about that is that Marvel didn't actually want Daredevil in those negotiations. When
Wait
the
a minute.
negotiations began,
yeah.
and that Marvel ended up with the rights to Daredevil, Marvel were actually after Galactus and Silver Surfer. Marvel made a push to get the right to Galactus and basically offered in exchange that he could extend the rights to Daredevil, because at that point Fox were looking at doing a sequel to the Ben Affleck movie. It's the point. Did you know they were actually working on a script during this time for a Daredevil sequel?
Yeah.
That was going to be an adaptation of Born Again.
Yeah. It was. I mean, honestly, I think that Ben Affleck did a fine job as Matt Murdock. It was just like
He'll do a better
really,
job as Batman.
huh?
He'll probably do a better job as Batman.
Yeah, well, because he actually likes Batman. He's a huge Batman fan. He doesn't give a shit about Daredevil. But I think he did a fine job as Daredevil. I think that the problems came from the script. I think the problems came from the director. I think, like, honestly, man, the cast was good. I think they casted well. And I think that, under better direction and a better script, it could have been better. I think that Jennifer Garner is a decent actress, and with a better script it could have been better. So it really doesn't surprise me that they thought, hey, let's take another crack at this. Let's take another crack at it, because I don't think that it was a box office failure either. I just don't think it like cleaned up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah,
So-
we got off topic here. Yeah, we're talking about Taskmaster for a villain in the Defenders.
Yeah. So I think we'll most likely see either a collection of villains hired by Wilson Fisk, or we could see the Hand. So I think that seems like a lot of work for Matt Murdock on his own.
Well, Defenders in the comics are an international group. They go and do whatever the fuck they need to do wherever.
Yeah, but I think this Defenders is more of kind of a street level
Exactly.
organization. What are the odds that we see Elektra fight alongside the Defenders?
No, I think
so?
that's actually something that I wanted to talk about Daredevil. But let's continue about the Defenders, then I'll get back to Elektra and Daredevil.
And not that we said, with Elektra, looks like she's going to be resurrected by the Hand.
Mm-hmm.
What if she, obviously it looks like when she comes back, she's going to be brainwashed by the Hand.
She's going to be Daredevil's big bad. I guarantee
she's going to be leading the Hand.
Yeah.
What if she's the villain in the Defenders?
I'm pretty sure that she's going to be a big bad at some point. She's going to definitely be a big bad. And you also have this thing with, like, the Hand. You have Marvel syndrome, or this new fucking movie thing where it's like, you need to have 100 of the bad guys so that your good guys can just, bam, 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 just beat the shit out of all of them. Mm-hmm. And the Hand is so far the only villain that we've seen in the Netflix universe that is street level enough, but also, global enough.
Yeah.
just a good villain overall for the Defenders. So
Yeah.
I definitely think that that might be something that they're building up to. But I think it would be a disservice to the other heroes because they do have their own villains. And they all, maybe not so much Jessica Jones. Luke Cage has his own villains. That we'll probably see. Punisher has his own villains.
When talking about possible villains, Thomas Wagner in the chat said John Cena.
John Cena. I definitely what's going on, Thomas. But yeah, John Cena is he's coming.
I mean, he's injured, so he's not wrestling at the moment. So
he's coming. I'll guarantee you right now that he's gonna come to DC without a doubt. If The Rock is going to DC, I'm pretty sure John Cena is gonna go to DC too.
So, anything we want to talk about before we sign off?
Yeah, actually, I want to talk about Elektra real quick. Elektra, Elodie Young did such a good job in that show of making us fall in love with her character and really ship the hell out of Matt Murdock and Elektra. But then just this underlying, like, bloodlust and psychopathy, you know what I mean? Like, she was just a complete fucking nut job that would be like, stroking you and caressing you one minute while like fucking stabbing somebody to death the next scene, and while still having blood all over her face, she goes to kiss you. You know what I mean? Like, just totally fucked up. It's like the person that you want to save so desperately, but no, you just can't. And I think that was really portrayed well by Matt Murdock and Daredevil.
It's a beautiful tragedy.
Yeah, beautiful tragedy.
Very much.
So we talked about some DC stuff. We talked about some Marvel stuff, mostly Daredevil, a little bit of Civil War in there. Star Wars, they're making a bunch of movies. Yeah.
Star Wars.
Don't do that.
Star Wars.
That's it. Jeremy Johns is coming down on us now.
Have you seen Oscar Isaac perform that?
No.
It's on YouTube. The Bill Murray kind of Star Wars song. Oscar Isaac is playing the guitar and he sings the Bill Murray Star Wars song, and it's brilliant.
That's wonderful, man. So yeah, I think that's about it. Like I said, some Star Wars movies coming out. We don't really know that much about them. Alan Tudyk is coming to a Star Wars movie. That's about it.
There will be Jedis. There will be Sith. There will be people who are neither.
There will not be Sith anymore. Sith are gone forever. Actually, no, that's right. Darth Vader is making a huge appearance. He's got a major role, and he's supposed to be kind of like the Michael Myers of Star Wars, which is awesome. It's so awesome. Just him like sneaking up on people. Like I would love to see members of the Rogue One cast just drop off one by one as Vader like sneak attacks them, every scene. That'd be so fucking cool. But anyway, that's pretty much what we got to talk about today. I want to thank my co-host over here, Owen Farrington of Owen Likes Comics. Where can they find you on the internets, my friend?
You can find me on youtube.com/OwenLikesComics. Great new content beaming into your eyeballs 3 times a week, sometimes more, sometimes less. Don't judge me. We're going to be talking. We've got a video coming out tomorrow talking about my 5 favorite moments from Deadpool season 2. Friday, we'll be talking about some recommended reads for Batman and Superman, some books that you should pick up before you go and see the movie, or after, if you've got a taste for some Batman vs Superman. Over the weekend, we'll do a spoilers discussion on the film, and next week there'll be plenty more Batman and Superman discussion. So if that's what you want to see, head over to my channel, youtube.com/OwenLikesComics, and come join in on the action. Until next time, take care, keep reading.
Beautiful. And my name is Nick Goldman. You can catch me over at youtube.com/GoldmanVision and shoot me a tweet at GoldmanVision. You should definitely tweet us. Let us know what kind of things that you want us to talk about, what kind of things you want to talk about. Make sure to join us every week live on Twitch and youtube.com. Go watch Daredevil if you haven't seen it. Go get your ticket for Batman vs. Superman. Get it now before it's sold out. Box office prediction. Let's do that before we cut the show. How much do you think Batman vs Superman is going to make?
All of the money.
All of the money. Owen says all the money. I'm going to say that first opening weekend it's going to make 150. It's going to make 150.
Are we talking domestic or international?
I'm talking international. I think it's going to make 150 opening weekend. But it's gonna. I think it's gonna stay strong for a while though, because I think a lot of people.
I think it's gonna make more than that.
Opening weekend,
honestly, yeah.
Okay, I'm playing it safe.
What do you think? I can see it making more than 150 now, and I
Because that means it's making like 90 to 100 million here, and then 50
yeah.
million abroad, or more over that abroad. All right, well, we'll see
I'm
what
gonna
happens.
I'm gonna say 170.
170.
I'm
Oh,
gonna say 170.
you're such a cop out. Come on, 20 million above mine.
Fuck you.
Ah, that's such a slow margin of error.
I'm
All
gonna say
right.
170.
Anyway, so okay, so Owen says 170. I say 150. We'll let you know next week which one of us was correct. Hopefully, both of us are wrong, and it makes 300 million, and they make a shit ton of these movies. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye, everybody.